Hey, how's it going? My name's Kent, and I'm a drummer, and I've spent the last several months of my life working on a pop-punk album in this room. This album means quite a lot to me. It's kind of just proving to myself that I can make an album in my spare room, and asking yourself, like, how do you create something when you've got this, like, vision in your head of, like, this big thing? How do you use the tools that you have, not exclusively rely on, like, the gear being good to create something cool? What I want to do today is share with you one of my Ableton sessions from the album. This is the first track, and it's called Conflicted/Addicted. This song kind of shaped the album quite a lot. That's why it's the first track, because I wanted the first track, whatever it ended up being, to kind of capture the whole vibe of the thing, because I look at track listing kind of like a live set. Okay, you've only got like a couple minutes, if not a couple seconds, to impress someone before they walk out the door. I want to share with you some of the obstacles and issues that came up when writing, and how I tried to find like creative solutions to create something that I'm still really proud of. It's just so easy to create something and hate it. It's easier to create something and dislike it than it is to make something and love it, I think. That's part of why I'm making these. Stop letting gear like hold you back from creating the stuff that you really want to make is kind of the point of this, I guess. First thing I want to take you through is the actual intro to this song, and we're going to kind of go through the individual instruments and how I recorded those, what I used, and then we'll probably get into like the lyrics and why I wrote the song, what it's about. How this song started is really important to me, it being the first track on the album. This is the first thing, if you listen to it, that you will hear. I knew I wanted to have this like kind of filter fade and intro-y thing, and then have some sort of riff and then kind of bring it down for verse 1. I knew that was the general arc I wanted, but how I got there was kind of tricky. Actually, to fully explain why I did what I did in the intro, we have to look at the ending of the song. So it ends with this massive fade out tail, and then an alarm starts playing. So I was recording vocals before I had to go off to rehearsal or something like that. I was done recording, but my channel was still active, and my alarm went off, and it came through. I was just like, oh, this sounds really cool. I love when you listen to music in your headphones, and when there's things that happen that you don't think are part of the music, like having really distant voices or things like that. I think that's really cool. Back to the point. So this, the rhythm part, is just the tail of the song here that I've just reversed. There's also like a filter sweep on the master channel here. This alarm kind of comes back. I wanted it to be more of like a texture at the start. Not really noticed it, so it's really quiet, really reverbed out. The synth part, which is doing a lot, honestly. This is actually just the ending again, but resampled in Ableton and then reversed as well, because I've got this MIDI going on as well as an audio track. So I wanted to just blend those together and kind of have this reverby thing. So that's how I made this intro. The other thing that's going on in the intro here too, actually, is there's a reverse cymbal hit, which I also believe is just from the end, yeah. And yeah, there's a little moment of silence, I think on all the tracks for this whole, whatever, like half a bar here. There's like digital silence, which is different than like analog silence. And that just gives it this feeling of like, I just thought that was a really cool way to start this album out and give you this feeling of like a bit of anticipation and a bit of a build up of like, oh, where are we going? And then it's like, big drum fill, obviously. First things first, I recorded all the drums for this on an E-kit. I do have an acoustic kit, but it's at one of my guitarist's flats, so anyway. Yeah, so I recorded all this on my Roland TD9 behind me here, which is an E-kit from, I think, 2008. It's kind of old, but it holds up. It's pretty battered, you know, because I've had it for ages, and the hi-hat trigger is kind of broken, but other than that, it's great, and I love it. I didn't want to use triggers, I didn't really want to use MIDI or like get good drums or anything like that, because I wanted to see how good a sound I could get from this kit. All I've got is a stereo left and right out of the module, which goes into usually channel 1 and 2, and then I've split them up so that some of them are mono, some of them are stereo, to sort of replicate what close mics would be doing when you mic a full kit, because there's a huge difference when you have whatever 7 to 10 microphones on a kit, even more sometimes, than having essentially 2 signals. It's very different, gives you a lot less control over mixing, rather than just having the drums in one thing and just saying, cool, drums are done, sound good. To get that control, I've recorded them in different channels running through different effects to imitate close mics. So if we look at the kick here, it's kind of just this big subby thing. Usually I gate the kick and sort of low pass it because I don't need that click. All the click kind of comes through in the bleed from the other tracks. So I just need that kick to be super subby, just giving it that oomph and body. And as well, the toms pick up a lot of that kick too, so the kick's pretty low in the mix. Snare here, we've got a saturator on it and a compressor and some EQ, just cutting out all that low end, trying to get that peak there. And again, trying to cut out some of the high end because, yeah, I love a ringy snare, but if we do this, like that's a ridiculous amount of bleed, even for a snare mic, you know, like that's insane. Next thing, we got toms. Yeah, even when there's like a floor tommy part here, but there's still so much kick and snare coming through there. So then the stereo tracks here, we've got overheads, room, and then a dry. Sometimes I'll have like a couple reverbs. It kind of just depends on the song and what I want from it. But overheads sound like this. Just cutting out all that low end, trying to accentuate the highs that we've taken out and everything else. Then the room sound here, what I've done, because obviously I don't have a room mic and I'm doing all this digitally, I've gotten a reverb that's very wet and very low decay and then compressed the fuck out of it. To kind of find a way to deal with that. And I've also got like a kind of dry one here that it's got an effect rack on it that we actually turn on later. So let's look at that now, and then we can talk more about like the drum writing. So where does that come in? I believe it's here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so all the markers are wrong on this. I've just realized that. That helps a lot. Thanks, past me. In verse 2, the drum sound changes quite a lot. Check on this thing here, which is an EQ, a phaser, or a flanger, a saturator, another flanger, another EQ, another flange, oh no, and then a phaser, and then a vinyl distortion. And that sounds like this. Which, I just think that's such a fucking cool sound, man. So at this point in the song, we've had our first verse, we've had our first chorus, now it's time for the second verse. When it comes to verse 2, I feel like you've kind of got a few options, because if you just repeat the first verse, unless you're the Killers, it's gonna kind of suck. I like to usually take away something in verse 2 rather than adding something. I think I took the bass out too. Yeah, no bass in there. There's very little, not a whole lot of guitar going on at the start either. So that when we get back to this chorus and we sort of build up verse 2, the second chorus, you're like, yes, we're back, we made it. Which is like, that's the kind of feeling that I think you want to get from a second chorus. And then the bridge takes you somewhere else. Last chorus, you're back home, right? Yeah, I just thought that it was a cool, different change. And just make the song more interesting as you go. A couple things I want to talk about with drums are in the bridge. We've got this like kind of Paramore in it fun thing going on. So restricted by what I think I know, and it all just goes to show that I'm not the one. For this bit, I really just wanted to make the backbeat really important because the kick pattern too, if you listen to this again, because the second kick lands on the E of 3, I think. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. So yeah, because the kick lands on a kind of weird spot, I really wanted the backbeat to be super consistent. I've also added these clap samples in, which I've just a bit of reverb on there, nothing else. The other thing I want to talk about that I feel like I always talk about in these videos is drum fills. So stupid. Let's try and find some cool fills in here and talk about why I put them there. I really wanted to just capture my kind of inner Blink-182 vibe because I spent so much time listening to that band. Like, tropes are ingrained in me. So a lot of the fills in this are very much that Travis Barker, like, thing. Like that kind of Herta, or reverse Herta, or whatever. Where you like, I don't know. That thing. A lot of that, a lot of boogity boom. Yeah, so there's a cool one here right before the first chorus. And then I really like this chorus part too because the whole thing is like we're really like accentuating the two, you know? We wanted to find a way to like build up to that. Maybe I should sit lower. That's maybe better. So yeah, so I wanted to find a way to like build up to that where you close the hi-hat can change so much of like the feeling of a fill or like a part. So here I've chosen to leave the hi-hat open because that's kind of what everything else is doing. The bass is kind of ringing out, the guitars are ringing out, so the drums should do the same thing, right? Not overcomplicating it, just kind of playing with the other instruments. There's some cool drummy stuff that happens kind of going into the bridge out of the like post-chorus. So we're doing those like big hits, da da da, and then trying to like fill and kind of do some cool stuff in between those. I feel like I'm doing fills pretty literally there, where I am just filling up the space between these two hits, keeping the backbeat kind of going. And that's the thing I really like kind of messing around with on the kit too. It's really fun. And then there's a big kind of build-up fill here too. And something cool happens here too, where that flanger saturator thing kind of cuts off right before everything comes back in. Which is really cool, I think. It gives the whole bridge this like almost underwater kind of feeling. And then finally we're like, hear the full kit. Woo! The drums in this are very much about, I mean, I guess in this whole album, like I was trying to find the balance between, yes, I'm a drummer and no one's even going to really listen to this, so I might as well just have some fun with it and chuck in some dumb shit. But at the same time, I do want to make this good music, and if the drums are doing too much, that will take away from the song. But it's also a pop-punk album, so it should be kind of mental, you know? So yeah, when I'm writing drums, you kind of work out what your foot's doing first, because it's like, either I'm playing with the bassist or I'm not. So with this song, yeah, I'm playing very with the bass. Snare is very much just keeping 2 and 4. It's very backbeat heavy. The thing that changes the most is what my right hand's doing. So in verse 1, we're on the floor tom, which is like a certain feeling. Chorus, just big crashes, just filling up space. Verse 2, already got this hi-hat thing, but what's cool about this is the part here is very simple, like dum da dum da dum. That's the same thing as this. It's like the notes are different, like on paper it's very different, but that melody of dum da do da do dum da do da, that's the same, right? And then yeah, in the bridge there's occasional hi-hats, so all the hi-hats here are either closing with the kick or the snare. So like this bit, we're shutting the hi-hat down with the kick, which again just adds to this, like the backbeat is what we're focusing on right now. And then yeah, at the end too, we've got those same kind of hits come back from the post-chorus. I'm getting way busier here just because why not? I've realized the more I look at my songs like this, the more of these that I'm doing, there's more to come, by the way, so stick around, subscribe, I guess. Yeah, the more of this I do, the more I'm like, man, I just love letting things go in the last chorus, like just letting things be mental. Yeah, I think that's kind of all the drum writing stuff I want to talk about. If you've got any questions or anything that you want me to talk about more, please let me know, because I want to make these better as I'm going. Let's move on and talk about bass now. So, all the bass in this album was recorded on my Squier Affinity PJ bass. Looks like this. Sticker bombed, and I love it. I run this through my pedal board, and then that just goes directly into Ableton. And usually I'll have at least one reamp and at least one sort of DI channel. Yeah, for this one, I didn't actually use multiple tracks. You can see that all of this is just in input 2 here, which means that this is all just one track that I've got different sounds on. So let's listen to the whole thing. Yeah, that sounds really good. This is our kind of main amp sound, which is just getting compressed and then reamped a little bit of reverb and EQ. This one is a much cleaner kind of sound, a bit brighter, but still got some low end in it, pretty compressed. This is your proper like high, crunchy, kind of squeaky, clicky sound. And together, sounds really good, honestly. And then yeah, I've also got this running through a glue compressor, and then it's all getting sidechained to the kick drum channel and the drums. One of my favorite parts of this song, honestly the album, is the bass line here. So that bit, I just feel like the motion of it, it's very just in the scale, but it's kind of a cool way of moving around it, I thought. You know, everything kind of follows that too. She said, come on, let's get inside. I've got one last thing to hide. The secret of your life. So So this happens in the post-chorus of the song, which only really comes after the end of the second and third choruses. So if we look at the end of the first chorus, which I think is around here because I've labeled this really badly. At the end of the first chorus, we've got like a sort of tease of this post-chorus thing. And then we're just back into the riff there, so we don't really let that breathe at all. We're just sort of saying, here's a new idea, let's move on and do something you know already. At the end of the second chorus, I wanted to find a cool way to transition into the bridge, and I had this kind of bass line thing, so thought let's add more lyrics to this and make this like its own kind of section now. And that all came from the bass line, which is so cool. So yeah, you can kind of see how all these instruments are like interacting and playing into each other and doing different things, and oh, love it. Let's just listen to this because it's cool. Just playing the minor, oofed, so good. I'm really proud of the bass line on this, honestly. I think it's really cool. Look at bass and drums kind of similarly in terms of like, there's a lot of it that you just need to kind of do what you need to do. Like, you just need to play 2 and 4, you just need to play root notes, whatever. But there's room for a little something if you can find it, if you can make it, you know, and not turn that into overplaying. I don't really think about guitar in the same way with that. It's kind of interesting. And we'll talk about guitar now, actually. Yeah, sure. Guitars, I guess. Let's talk about the rhythm guitar first, because the rhythm is like really what's holding this song together. So as I mentioned, we've got this reverse thing at the start here, and then just playing these chords, kind of syncopated, bit out of tune. It's double tracked, and then cutting out here for the first verse and lyrics to kind of be the focus. In the chorus, the guitar is kind of playing the drum part. So let me explain what I mean. The drums are doing this, so the guitars are doing, yeah, there's some kind of fun stuff here with it's like chugging and building up. My wrist was hurting after doing this. Verse 2, there's kind of a cool part here where we're just chugging along these 2 notes. And then we leave space for this big fill to get us into chorus 2 here. I'm so conflicted. Yeah, let's talk about what the guitars are doing in this post-chorus. Everything was kind of written around the bass line here. This is what the guitars are doing. It's basically playing the same thing. The guitar I'm using for this is a Squire Mustang. It's a short scale and it's currently only got 5 strings. I'm really bad at guitar. I basically never play this in standard. I just leave it in open tunings so I can just... This was just so much easier for me to get the ideas out. Like, a lot of my process is just about how fast can I get what's in my head onto that. Having a guitar that isn't an open tuning, just capo it, like, that helps me a lot. Same thing with bass, I'm just running through this pedals directly in and then reamping it. In the bridge, the guitars kind of fade out here and then we're just doing this. One of the parts of the song that actually took me a long time to sort of finish, this fade out. The issue that I came up with basically was that when you listen to this for the first time, I wanted it to feel like, oh, you don't know where the song's going now. You might think it's over because you've done this big... And you're like, okay, we're fading out. Song's probably done now. And my issue was that I lent into that so much that it did feel like the song was done. So that when it came back, you're kind of just like, oh, there's more? Oh, okay. And so it was like, how do I make this so that it does feel like a break and you do sort of have that like, oh, I don't know where we're going now, so that when it comes back in with the bridge, you're not like, oh, why is the song still going? You're like, oh, cool, there's more things. And then you get a double chorus and you're like, woohoo. So now I just want to take you through the individual guitar tracks and see how they're sounding. So the main rhythm guitar sound is kind of just based on these 2 tracks. Sounds pretty good. These are both the TC Electronic Dark Matter running through some reamps in Ableton. We've also got another one here. That's a DI of that distortion pedal. So there's super dry, bit of EQ, super compressed. This one's like actually just a clean tone. And then that's a clean tone getting reamped as well. So then put all these together, you've got a pretty full guitar sound, right? And keep in mind, like, Guitar is probably the instrument that I know the least about, especially in terms of mixing. Like, I just have so little experience with the instrument. At balancing rhythm, guitar, and lead, I find so difficult, and then trying to balance the lead guitar with the vocal melody as well, I find that really tricky. You know, I've done my best with all of this stuff. If you've got any thoughts or like ways I can do this better, please let me know. You know, I'd love to hear it. So now let's talk about lead guitar. So we've got this riff. And pretty similar, like, processing-wise, I just run it through pedals into the interface and then do some reamping. So let's look at these individually. Pretty reverb-y, God. You got a gate on there, and then some reverb and EQ. Obviously, there's a reverb. Jesus. That's way cleaner, but there's still a similar processing, but a different amp. Those two together. Pretty solid already. That's kind of more of your, like, radio filters, sort of mid-rangey thing. That's doing nothing. Okay, cool. And then that's, again, much more of a clean sound. So you can see how the processing for rhythm and lead is very similar. Maybe that's part of my problem with mixing, honestly, is I need to process them differently from the ground up. I like this riff a lot. Again, I just wanted it to capture the vibe of the album and just kind of be this, like, yeah, it's kind of emo, it's kind of pop punk, it's kind of rock, happy. Oh yeah, then this riff comes in, which is really hard because you're moving the bass note around as you're keeping that riff going, basically. The do-do-do-do-do-do. It's pretty sloppy. And it's very, like, stereotypical kind of emo riff. Which doesn't change at all, but the chords move underneath it, which is nice. What else is cool about the guitar part is that the lead line kind of starts before the rhythm part really kicks in. You know, it's da-da-da-da, whereas the rhythm part's going to ka-ja, goes to something slightly different, verse 2 here. Just focusing on that kind of filtered sound now. So that's like much more of a lead line, but again, this part, it wasn't meant to be like, here's the new melody, it's kind of just background stuff. And it's just kind of giving you like additional harmony. Big Phil. I'm so conflicted. Yeah, and then that riff kind of comes back there at the chorus. What else have we got? In the bridge, the rhythm and lead are kind of doing the same thing. I'm so restricted by what I think I know. Yeah, there's little bits of like noise in this lead part is really nice. Because I could have gated and chopped this out, you know, but I like it being kind of messy. It's just that stop is so abrupt. That's ridiculous. Because you don't even hear the one. Anyway, I've talked about like my sort of struggles with mixing guitar as well. One of the issues I had with this riff was making it prominent enough. If we take this out real quick, let me listen to that again. Riff's still there, like you can still hear it, it's still present enough, but I really like adding synths and trying to disguise them as other instruments, basically. So like, I didn't want the synths to come in and for you to go, ooh, synth line, because the guitar is doing that. And it is actually a slightly different part. These notes here are different. And then this just loops. It was really tricky because I wanted the vocals to be the focus, obviously, but with this lead line or riff or whatever was so important to like the song as a whole that I couldn't just let it kind of get buried. These are glue compressed too. So let's see what this is here. Oh, I forgot about this. Oh my god. Yeah, this is just some like ear candy that I put in on a different voice on the synth. And this is going through a delay, a compressor, and an auto pan just to give it like the bleep bloop kind of thing, which in context, like, you really don't notice it, but there's so much stuff going on in this verse too. I think that's why I put it in there, just as an extra bit of something interesting. The synth changes with the post chorus and everything, so let's listen to that. When I was writing this, I kept hearing this like Crash the Wedding by Busted synth in there that if you know the song, you know, it's like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I kept hearing this in my head, but I was like, I can't put this in the choruses because it is so, a lot of this is ripping off Busted. That's like directly ripping off Busted, so I can't do that. But I thought I could get away with doing it here, so that bit. So yeah, and then it also kind of follows the bass line and everything else that's going on here too, and then big fade out. I had to really mess with the decay on this to get it sounding right. If we play this from the ending here, you can hear that synth really comes through then in the the reverb tails, which is really nice. So there's no synth in the bridge here either, because I really wanted that to just have a bunch of space and just let the backbeat be the focal point, and again let the melody really shine through again and let that be your focus. Because as well, the vocal melody in the bridge is the same as the chorus, but the lyrics are slightly different, and I think not clouding that up too much makes you actually listen to the lyrics more. And all the stuff that I'm talking about here, we're trying to get the listener to focus on this or that, it's all very like, I don't know if any of this works, you know, like this is just how I like to write, because I think this is the stuff that makes music really cool and interesting, and you know, I want to share that. The last thing I want to talk about with this track is the vocals. I mentioned that the lyrics kind of change in the bridge here. I'm so restricted by what from being, it's so annoying not having these labeled properly. One of my favorite parts about writing songs is when we get to the bridge, because that's when you've kind of got more freedom to like kind of do whatever you want. Like you don't need to have it be super catchy. You know, you can take the energy up, you can take it down. There's so many things you could do with the bridge. I love writing bridges. Just quickly, I want to tell you what this song's about and what it kind of means. This whole album is kind of a breakup album, I guess. It wasn't really written with that intent, because a lot of these songs weren't written to make an album. I was just kind of writing music. So the song's really about coming to terms with the fact that your relationship is over. You're just spending so much time writing like in your notes on your phone, just trying to process all this stuff because you don't even know how you feel. So trying to talk to someone about it is really difficult. My process for writing verses is very different than choruses. With verses, I try and just sort of capture like a vibe or a feeling or an emotion. Again, part of why I made this song the first track on the album was because it just, I don't know, it was just kind of calling out to me of like, this was the best produced track for a long time. It was the best written track for a long time when everything else was pretty still in like demo hell. It kind of became like almost the mission statement of like, this is the sound. And I wanted the lyrical content to like reflect that, so that you kind of are like, okay, this is the vibe. I want to listen to more of this, or I don't. Okay, let's talk about vocal processing, because this one's kind of unique. I've got two main vocal tracks here. Some of my songs, I'll split it so it's like there's a verse group and a chorus group or whatever, but this one's kind of different. So we've got our lower octave vocal here, which sounds like this. And I run all my vocals through this like group thing that I've built. So we've got a dry channel here. Said, come on, let's super dry, horrible for me to listen to. And then we've got a super verbed out one. Said, come on, let's get inside. And then a saturator track. Said, come on, let's get inside. So together you've got like bit of grit on that, you know, bit of that saturator crunch coming through, and also a nice reverb. Said, come on, so it doesn't just sound super dry and annoying. There's certain parts of the melody that I couldn't quite reach in one octave or the other, so I was like, I'll just do both because that'll thicken it out nicer, I guess. I just think that having two vocal octaves there works almost better than double tracking it would, because I think it gives you a stronger performance overall. Another cool thing about having two different groups for different octaves is in the verses, the main melody is in this octave down here in this track. And then take a break with me. You've got the higher octave doing the kind of response part. And then I've also got this harmony group here. Sounds like this. Again, pretty reverbed and saturated. But that's harmonizing with this. And when we get to the chorus, I just wanted to keep that melody super clean, because it's playing through both octaves too. And you've got all of this going on at the same time. I didn't think the harmonies would be adding a whole lot there. I'm still using this harmony channel for a couple of other bits in the chorus, like this, which is just to, because of the way that these lyrics are written, they kind of overlap, so I had to do that just to make it like make sense. And then in the second verse, there's a harmony that comes in on the second or third line. And the reason why I didn't want to have it on the first line is, again, it's just kind of about focus. It's like, I just want you to, like, it gets bigger, you know, because we start with one voice, we add a second, and it's kind of adding this like call and response vibe. And again, there's not a whole lot going on here, like in terms of sonic space. Then there's more harmonies in the second post-chorus. And then we do that fade out bit I was talking about earlier. And then here, I think they're all going. Yeah, so then actually we've also got this one at the bottom. I'm so restricted. This bit I wanted to have that gang vocal. Yeah, this bit's just Paramore. Like, or I was trying to be Paramore at least. So that's why there's loads of vocals here. Just to get loads of layers. And then we've got this bit. This is doing some kind of backing stuff here. Just holding that note while everything else is going on. Yeah. I really wanted to just capture my, like, the Mark Hoppus vibe of just having, like, those pop punk buzzwords of, like, conflicted, addicted, tonight. And that's something that, like, I know he's spoken about, like, choosing words and lyrics that you wouldn't necessarily say normally, which is such an interesting thing as well when you think about, like, you know, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I don't know, because this is taking me like 2 hours longer than I wanted to. I've had so many camera, battery, laptop, SD card issues making this video. This song is called Conflicted/Addicted. It's out everywhere. The album is called Can We Please Slow Down. If you've enjoyed me talking about this and sharing my process with you, then I'd love if you went and gave it a listen. If you like the song, then I've also got a drum playthrough you can go check out right now on my channel, which I'm assuming is... I'm doing the YouTuber thing where I'm like, it's here, but it's actually going to be like here. I don't know. I haven't edited this yet. We'll find out. I'm going to be releasing playthroughs for every song on the album, as well as session breakdowns for every song. Once a week, these are going to be coming out. So subscribe to not miss out on those when they're coming. And yeah, hope you have a great day. See you soon. That was a mess. Are we good? I think we're good.